Thanks very much for that, Tasha. Well, if anybody out there wants to learn patience, my advice to you would be have children. Kelley Scarsbrook is with us this morning, parenting expert and columnist. Would you not agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's nothing like something to teach you patience than having children.
Right, and that's probably the most important thing in terms of helping your child become fully formed in what they should do and what they probably shouldn't do.
Yes, no, absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, one of the things I often tell parents is that we don't want to resort to yelling, getting angry, because that doesn't accomplish anything. If anything, that's going to create more negative behavior from a child.
Right, and you're learning this because you've got young children yourself, and what have they been up to?
Well, I have a 5-year-old son and I have a 2-year-old daughter, and so both of them are at different stages right now. Where the son, you know, has obviously been taught more how to listen and that sort of thing, whereas the daughter right now is going through her own bit of, you know, finding herself and challenging and that sort of thing. Finding herself.
That's a good way to put that. That's usually the no phase, isn't it?
The no phase and discovering, and that's what we want to, you know, keep in mind, is that when children are doing something that we behave, whether it's a behavior or getting into something or whatever, we don't want to use a tactic where we're scaring the child or we're intimidating them, whether it's yelling at them. We always want to remember, when we're talking to a child, put yourself in their position. If you have an adult yelling in your face, you know, how does that, how is that going to feel? And so remember, I always say, like, do the countdown, you know, take a deep breath. Not for the child, but for you.
Yeah.
For you, and do that countdown. And then when you're ready, then use that calmness and get down on their level. When you're up here yelling, no. Get down on their level. You know, Johnny, please stop this behavior. Please stop, you know, hitting your sister or whatever the behavior is. Please stop that.
Now, you've got, as you say, 2 children, 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Did you find that what worked for one didn't necessarily work for the other? Because I certainly found that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's when you start looking at whether you're having to use positive reinforcement, where that, you know, you're telling your child, come in. If they're outside, they're not coming in or whatever. Then if you come in, we'll read a book together. That's a positive reinforcement for that child.
Right.
Whereas maybe you've got a child that's a little bit more stubborn, rambunctious,
spirited. I like to say spirited.
Then you have to start using the consequence method, which is essentially that, you know, you don't get any books read to you tonight. If this is something that you're not listening and you're not coming in, guess what? Books don't get read tonight.
Isn't the hard part with that is, I think, the follow-through for parents,
You got it. Yeah. Because after a while, they'll start calling your bluff if you don't actually do it.
Okay.
And they'll get really smart to that really quick.
So maybe you could help parents then. What is the best way to approach this?
Well, essentially, that's... if you're finding that you're using that positive reinforcement and you've got a child who's stubborn and still not listening, you have to pick a consequence, and it has to fit. The consequence has to fit the situation, right? So now, if you've got a child who is, you know, not listening to whatever, they're not following through on something, then okay, you don't get story time. It has to matter in their world.
Right.
It has to make it.
It has to be important to them.
Has to be important to them, and then then slowly and gradually they recognize that, hey, if I do A, then this is a consequence that happens.
Right.
And yeah.
But that's so important there for parents to make sure that they follow through with that. And parents hate to deny their child, you know, things like that, because it's hard for them too to do that.
It's absolutely, and it's hard on the parent, but you have to look at the big picture, and at the end of the day, you know, where do you want the end result to be when they become teenagers? And you know,
that's another topic entirely.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about when you have siblings, young children like you do, and let's say your daughter is sort of copying or mimicking what her older brother is doing. How do you cope with 2 of them at the same time? And that's pretty tough.
It is, and you know, I've had to sit my son down a couple of times and explain to him that his sister is watching everything that he's doing, and that he's a role model, and there is a responsibility. And so I put it to him that, you know, you're helping us as well, and you're a great older brother, and she's looking to you to learn from, and this is great that you're helping teach. So I try to put a spin on it that, you know, getting him excited that he's helping teach her. And so,
do you think that they respond better when they think there's some responsibility involved?
Absolutely. If children at that age, I mean, especially my son, he wants to be the helper in the family. He's at an age where, you know, even hard work, you know, raking leaves and stuff is exciting to him. So, you know,
well, that won't last. Let me tell you.
I know that.
Yeah.
But you know, that sort of thing. So now, when we put a spin on it, where he's now helping, you know, and has this important role, and isn't it great, and reinforcing it that way, then that helps that.
Do you notice a real change, though, in your daughter's behavior when that happens? Is that she definitely does mimic what he does?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll take the example as bath time. You know, if he decides that he's not ready to get out, suddenly I have 2 children who are not wanting to get out of the tub. If, you know, my son does not like carrots. My daughter loves carrots, but if she hears him say that he doesn't like carrots, suddenly she has an aversion to carrots.
Nobody's eating carrots
Nobody's
at the table.
eating carrots at night.
Well, patience would be a good answer to that, wouldn't it?
Right, and just encouraging him to, you know, be a good example for his sister. And it's the same with every parent and every family. We go through these situations, but it's always about how we handle it with calmness, with maturity, and not to, you know, get too excited and use anger as a method to get our message across, because we don't need to.
No, we don't. Good advice this morning. Thank you very much for that, Kelley. It's 9:27. You're watching Breakfast Television.